There's been this buzz phrase going around for a bit where people say that motivation isn't important. They say that discipline is what you should really be focusing on. And while I agree with this, and I could make tons of videos on discipline, today I want to focus on motivation because I think that phrase misses out on a key piece of what we need to listen to here. Motivation is important, and even though, yes, it does fluctuate, there'll be days where you're super motivated and days where you're super not motivated. It's still really important because we can actually control that to some degree. And there's really interesting theories that I think would really impact a lot of people if they knew about them. So motivation is this idea that you can hold a belief in your head for an extended period of time without letting it go. It's about what energizes you and what de-energizes you. So some things give you energy and give you life, and some things take it away. They seep the life out of you. Many of you listening right now have a very clear idea of what some of these things might be. So when you look at motivation, there's also these big buckets. One of them is extrinsic, which is outside forces, pay, cars, houses, things that are outside of our own beings. These can be helpful short-term motivators or motivators for certain types of things, but for accomplishing creative tasks or long-term goals and finding really deep levels of happiness, extrinsic motivators aren't very good. So we need to look to intrinsic motivators. These are things like passion and fun and things that you actually really care about because you're interested in them. So one of the most powerful theories in motivation is called self-determination theory, and it's broken up into 3 different pieces. There's one piece called autonomy, which is the perceived level of control you have over something. One of them is relatedness, which is how good of relationships you have within a certain environment. And then there's mastery. This is something needs to be a certain level of challenging to you to where it's just stimulating enough to where you can get invested and grow and learn, but it's not so easy that you become bored with that thing. So the idea behind self-determination theory is that if you have those 3 things, you're extremely intrinsically motivated, and you'll be much more inclined to perform well and accomplish goals or tasks that you set out to do. So for my work that I do in the field of business psychology, this is super important because when I work with leaders and organizations to help improve their work culture, we want people to have autonomy, relatedness, and mastery. How do we do that? There's tons of things we can do. But once we give people those things, then they start to perform better because they're driven by intrinsic factors. And once they perform better, not only are they happier, more engaged, they're healthier, but they also perform so much better to the point where the company actually makes more money. It's a win-win for everybody. So from a personal perspective, let's look at those 3 things a little closer. So again, autonomy is the level of perceived control. So maybe you are in a job where your boss tells you everything to do. You have to do it exactly this way. It needs to sound like this. It needs to look like this. There's no level of creativity or freedom whatsoever. You're not involved in decision making, and you just feel like you have no control over anything. You're going to have really low levels of autonomy. That will impact your intrinsic motivation. Let's say the people you work with are a bunch of jerks. You don't like them, you don't respect them, they don't give you the time of day. You're going to have really low levels of relatedness. Now, if you look at mastery, something is either way too easy, so it's going to be boring, or something's way too hard where it's overstimulating and it's intimidating. You're also going to lower your levels of intrinsic motivation that way. So if we look at this with a personal goal, like going to the gym, we can make it very relatable and we can break it up into little steps. So with autonomy, we want to give ourselves control. Well, how do I motivate myself to go to the gym? Well, let's do things that we have control over. So I have control to choose the outfit that I want to wear to the gym. And if I don't know what to even wear, the fact that you're watching this video means you have access to the internet. So you can go on the internet and you can look up what types of outfits should I wear, when should I wear them, and how would they function, how much do they cost. There's all sorts of things that you can do to figure that out. That's just one step. You can control where you drive to go to which gym. Maybe you don't have the top dollar to go to the best gym, or maybe you can't afford any gym, but there's all sorts of YouTube videos that teach you how to do home workouts. Now, those require motivation and discipline too, but bear with me here because there's more to this than just the initial steps. So you're thinking about, what can I do to increase my level of control over my life? Well, again, you can figure out the outfits you wear, the time you do it, the types of workouts. You can acquire knowledge and learn more about working out to see which workouts would be best for you. So you have control over the types of workouts that you do and where you do them and how you do them. These little adjustments and changes in your thinking can make a pretty big difference in the long run. But you're not always going to see them in the short term. So it's going to be really annoying. It's going to be challenging. You're going to still need to rely on that discipline piece somewhat here. Now, relatedness, this is a huge factor here for these personal goals, like going to the gym. So think of it this way. If you have to do it by yourself, it's really hard because you have to be motivated enough to actually get up and go to the gym. It's super tough. So leading into this, you could start setting little tiny goals for yourself to say, hey, I'm just going to drive to the gym. I'm going to walk in and just do some light stretching. And that's it. I don't have to do a full workout. I don't have to do this crazy routine or agree to some insane diet. You just start super small. You build off of that, continuing to give yourself more control over something that isn't so daunting. Now, with the relatedness factor, again, you want to do this with people. You want to do this with others who are this supportive group of individuals. So think of, maybe you have friends or a supportive accountability buddy from school, or a colleague, or anyone, someone somewhere who can be there for you to help keep you accountable. These are people who also share these same goals. And I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, right? Of the 5 people you spend the most time with is this sum of who you're going to become eventually, the average of like your personality. These people make up the decisions you're making, the beliefs you have about the world, the way you kind of see things. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of bums and people who do really bad things all the time, you're probably going to think like them and do things like them, because in that environment, it's okay to do those things. But if you start surrounding yourself by very healthy, happy, motivated, and excited individuals, it's going to start changing things over time. So the relatedness factor is really important here, because you're going to find someone who's really interested in doing that with you, and you're going to go do it with them. And eventually it's going to become not so difficult. That layer, that barrier for entry is going to shrink more and more in time. So the autonomy piece, having control over your workouts, how you do them, how you dress, where you go. Do you do them in your house? Do you do them at a gym? Who do you do them with? You're doing them with friends, colleagues. How are you keeping each other accountable? Are you actually writing out a plan? Are you keeping yourselves in check and becoming aware of when you have these dips in motivation? Now we look at the third piece, is mastery. So if you're just starting to go to the gym, you don't want to come in and power lift everything and just try and max out on all the machines and just stack the weights. 1, you won't be able to. 2, you're going to completely hurt yourself. And 3, it'll just look ridiculous. Well, and 4, also, it'll be so insanely daunting that it's going to tank your motivation and you're just not going to want to do it. But on the same token, also, you don't want something to be so easy and effortless that this is just completely pointless. Like, why are we even doing this? So it's different for everyone. Everyone has their own thresholds for what that looks like for them. And these different examples may look a little bit different for the person, depending on where they're at in their journey with trying to go to the gym, or trying to get back into the gym, or trying to stay consistent with their routine, or trying to level up in their routine at the gym. It's hard for me to give this blanket catch-all perfect example, but this is just one amongst many that I could provide that just break this down in a little bit more of a detailed way to say, this is motivation. This is a theory in motivation. This is how we tap into intrinsic motivation to kind of drive that performance, to get us to do something. Now, maybe you don't care about the gym. Maybe you don't care about that at all, or you're not interested. that's going to make it really difficult. So the chances of you actually doing that are extremely low. So the gym is a common one that I like to use, but it could be with anything. Maybe you want to be a painter, or maybe you want to be an architect, or maybe you want to get into graduate school or start a YouTube channel and talk about a thing that you're passionate about. Sit down and write a list of everything that's on your mind. Blot out the ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm interested in that. This sounds kind of cool. This thing gives me life. This thing takes it away. That's another helpful thing to do, is you can bucket things into what gives you excitement and what takes it away. And then what you do is you look at that list of all these things and you say, what's within my control? What do I have? What do I possess that allows me to take control over some of these things? And then you can start writing more. You can start adding to this list and say, okay, I can control A, B, C, X, Y, Z. That's actually doable. These things I have no control over. I shouldn't be stressing as much about this. And that can be helpful for different anxiety periods you have, or feelings of being overwhelmed. But it helps you zoom out a little bit and look at motivation from a different lens and kind of break up your goals. And this stuff is hard. It's really, really hard. I'm not saying any of this is easy, or just you write it down once and you do the 3 things and boom, you're done. You're just motivated all of a sudden. Not how it works, not how it's going to go down for a vast, vast majority of people. And these examples might not even directly apply to you. But what it is it's a set of knowledge and basic tools that you can take and apply to your life in your situation with your specific goals. So to kind of back up and put all this together, I think discipline is extremely important. And that's a whole nother video in and of itself. To do, how to build it. I even made one on discipline, so you can check that one out. But with motivation, even though, yes, it does come and go, there's different types of motivation. There's extrinsic, things on the outside. Then there's intrinsic, things on the inside. And if you can pour into those things, autonomy, the level of control you have over something, the perceived level of control, relatedness, the environment you're in, the people that you're with, the relationships that you're building, your mastery. How challenging is something for you? How much is it pushing you to actually level up and grow? Is it the right level of hard? Is it too easy? What does that look like for you? Figure that out and chop it up and keep thinking about it. Dig into those 3 buckets. Write out your goals. Write about things that give you energy and talk about things that take energy away. Look at those lists and see what you're possibly able to control and what you can't control. Doing this time and time again, consistently, will then start to build motivation, because then the whole picture is going to get so much clearer. Because in the beginning, when you're trying to accomplish these huge goals, I want to be this major architect, I want to be this bodybuilder, I want to be a famous YouTuber. You don't even know what to do in the beginning. You don't know what camera to buy. You don't know what mic to buy. You don't know where to go to school. You don't know what clothes to get, or who to talk to, or what questions to even ask. But all of this requires knowledge, insight, and consistency, which will then help build the discipline and then help fuel the motivation. So it's a really complex, nuanced, and dynamic topic, but I think if you can dig into that and tap into those 3 areas, it will help you immensely as you go along your road with motivation. So this is one amongst many videos on motivation that I'll be doing, but I think this is a helpful introductory dump of just, here's all these different things about motivation, intrinsic motivation specifically, that might be helpful for you in your situation. So give it a try and let me know how it works for you. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you're struggling with, or if you have specific questions about intrinsic motivation, building motivation in general, anything and everything. I'm all open. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you being here. Remember to take care of those around you. Remember to take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys next time.